to kick off the first half of our Monday morning quarterbacks with the 4th of July. Daniel, you're new to us this morning here on the morning show, at least, so we'll start with you. What do you think this balance should be between celebrating the 4th and celebrating the 4th with a whole bunch of people in one place?
Well, I think that there's a lot of ways to celebrate 4th of July. I have an event that I'm going to be going, but there are safe ways to do it, right? I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to get tested after I go to the event. This is something that people need to be doing, whether they're going to protest, whether they're going to celebrate 4th of July in the President's Parade, which I personally did last year. So I know that this is a great event. But people need to take care. At the Institute of the Study of Free Enterprise, where I work, we did research that showed that before restrictions were imposed, as large events were banned, that didn't really have an effect. It was just the stay-at-home orders that had an effect. So perhaps at large events like this, now that the stay-at-home orders were lifted, won't have a big effect on the infection.
You know, Michael, some might argue that, look, with all the mass crowds and gatherings we've seen over the last couple of weeks, to be honest, across the Northeast at least, didn't really impact the rates of COVID infection. So why not bring a whole bunch of people together? Others will say that's a ridiculous line of thinking because the more people in one place, the greater the chance of spread. What's your take?
Well, we've seen that the most important thing right now is wearing a mask. If you wear a mask, it's about an 80% decrease in the likelihood that you'll transmit or catch COVID. So, while we need to make sure that we're not putting people in crowds unnecessarily, what we really need to do is make sure that people are wearing masks and making sure they're being safe. And so while I don't necessarily feel comfortable yet going in big crowds, especially with 4th of July just now happening, we've seen the effects of what happened around Memorial Day in states like Texas, Arizona, Florida. I think the biggest thing is making sure we're getting people comfortable with wearing masks and wearing them everywhere.
All right, let's actually just carry that thought process on over to our second half of our Monday morning quarterback now, and that is traveling. Because while we've done better here in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic, you see places like Florida, California, Arizona, Texas, places that, quite honestly, a lot of people want to vacation to and typically do vacation to, are heating up again. So, Michael, I'll start with you. Would you travel?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, there's no point in risking it. And I think when you look at states like Texas and Florida especially, they haven't taken things seriously because there's been a failure of leadership at the top. And so, up until I think last night, Florida had bars open. People were going around partying, kind of not practicing social distancing. So no, there's not a shot I would do that.
All right, Daniel, you don't quite qualify for the Northeast where you are. So what do you think about traveling and the restrictions and what some states are doing?
Yeah, I live in Kentucky, where we actually have the infection under control. Thankfully, the measures that the state has taken have been good. I definitely think that we don't need to be opening indoor restaurant seating or bars, because the research that we did at the Institute for the Study of Free Enterprise showed that while stay-at-home orders are the most effective measure and large event gatherings really didn't have an effect on the infection, the closure of restaurants did shave several points of the growth rate of COVID-19. It was the only measure of business closures that had an effect, because people are inside talking while they're eating. You can wear a mask while you're eating. So that's the kind of thing that we need to be doing. And that's why I think that Florida and Texas need to change their path. Texas just did. They just closed all bars. So let's see what happens. I personally don't think that it's safe to be in crowds in those states or in many other places.
So keeping on with our football theme of Monday morning quarterback, in football you get the 2-minute drill. We're going to go with about a 20-second drill for a final word. Daniel, I'll keep it with you. States that had already been restrictive like California, or I'm sorry, that had already opened like California and are now saying, look, the bars have to close again. Are people going to listen this time around when you reverse course?
That's what I'm concerned about. I feel like it was not worth doing everything we did if at the end we're going to give up. From the beginning, I said that if we're going to do this, we need to do it strong for a short period of time so that we can contain the infection, contact trace with our tests, and with people calling to let everybody stays quarantined. But if we are just going to close businesses and destroy the economy and then let the infection get out of control, we lost all our time and money, and that's sad.
All right, Michael, final word.